Sick days. Possibly the two greatest words someone can hear before they leave school. At some point in our educational lives, we experience days where our bodily functions are a health hazard to those we intermingle with and are excused for the entire day, giving us the freedom to stay home and feel superior to all your loser friends who showed up to school. I think we all experience sick days, sometimes trying to fake an illness just so we won't even go to the prison that we believe to be school, and either failing miserably with our parents or somehow succeeding and fooling our parents. Even I tried to fake an illness and ended up going to school extremely salty. They would still send me to school. Now, before the pandemic, coming to school sick was more of a matter on how you compose yourself throughout the day. So I don't think schools even cared as long as you just covered your mouth when you coughed or sneezed and made sure to wash your hands and lessen contact with everyone, you would be alright. Now that we have emerged from a pandemic and are back in school, showing up to school sick is a huge disaster waiting to happen. Not only would you be in huge trouble, you would scare the living hell out of everyone and anyone talking to them in the most nasally voice, trying to ask them for a pencil. Like, imagine talking to someone like this throughout the whole day. Hello. Yeah, it does not sound good. Needless to say, everyone would naturally assume you had that one virus that rampaged the world. The month of October came with harsh weather that one wouldn't normally expect to deal with, especially living in the city. My geniusness thinking that sweater weather was still the appropriate form to deal with the cold-ass weather, I had to deal with the consequences leading me to be sick. I don't really get sick, like, if anything, the bare minimum is me getting sick once a year. And coming out of the pandemic, normally, if you were sick, you would just do class online, nothing really mattered. But I still had the option of going to school. So, I would have gladly taken the day off so I can not scare people and get them sick. The class that I would be missing, however, had a policy where participation was 40% of the grade. So if you didn't even show up to your class, your entire grade would be in the dumps. Feeling the obligation to show up to class and assuring myself that I'm fine had me going to school, when in fact, I was the worst of being fine. A stuffy nose and congestion had me already sounding terrible, but my voice was so bad that I sounded like a man who's been smoking at the age of 7. Arriving at school, it only set in my mind when I entered class that I was completely screwed and everyone would know that I would be sick because I had to participate, so my grade wouldn't be in the complete shit. The classwork for the day was actually group work, so I got real lucky here because if I just stayed silent and had other people talk when our group was selected for the group work, it would go towards our participation grade and I would be fine. Awesome! Now you may be answering, well, if it's awesome, why is there so much of the video left? Well, let me tell you why. Because, contrary to my belief, I was in fact doomed. The group work was tedious, as it would always be, and we decided to split the work up and share our answers so that we can get it done quicker. That's already part 1 of my downfall. I had to share the answers I had to do, and you cannot believe how startled and revolted my fellow peers looked hearing my deathbed of a voice. It didn't even help that I was constantly sniffling because my nose was so stuffed that it felt like a rock was going against my nose. With the morale at an all-time low, I figured it would just be best to stick through it and then immediately go home before I started getting jumped by security. With the group work being done, all was left was to share. As the group shared, and it was our turn, I sat by thinking I can finally go home and fall into my bed. The opportunity has come and it's silence. 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 I looked to my group members in utter disbelief, none of them even willing to help me out and speak for the group. All of them looked at me, and even with knowing what was going to happen, the impending doom, I still spoke. When I tell you how hard it was to be in my position, I really want you to imagine this. Like, I cannot stress this enough. This was terrible. With the most noticeably stuffy nose, sniffling every 2 sentences, and my voice sounding like that shriveled old lady in a wheelchair from that SpongeBob episode, I was beyond screwed. Everyone, even my teacher, seemed to be in utter awe that I showed up to school post-pandemic sick. When I stopped talking, the class was just silent for 30 seconds. Eventually my teacher began talking and I just zoned out and I just wanted to cover my head and just fall into nothingness, disappear into nothingness until class ends. The issue showing up to school sick post-pandemic when school is in person is that if we were sick, or even if we had COVID, we would be ousted, we would not be able to enter school and we would have to miss out on classes and everything. And there were policies where we could be, I guess, excused from our work and stuff, but we still would lose grades because my teachers were a pain in the ass. I noticed how other states, different from New York, they're more lenient, or they don't even have any mask policies at all. But I had to deal with this very strict nonsense that could cost my grade. If it didn't cost my grade, I would gladly be home just chilling. But no, I had to be the one who had to, I guess, deal with the consequences. I may have traumatized my peers, but I got those sweet participation points, which is actually crazy because my friends who didn't even show up to class, their grades would drop by a significant amount. And even if they didn't participate, it would still drop down by a significant amount. I remember getting an 8 out of 10 for participation and my grade dropped below an 80, and that was like complete bullshit. I didn't sabotage my own grades, and I guess that's the whole what would you say? The worth? Not even the worth. The ends justifying the means, but like, I don't know, man. I have a lot more stories about my sick days prior to the pandemic, all from high school, elementary, middle school, etc., etc. I'll probably compile them all into another video for you guys. See ya.